I'm in the middle of Lincolnshire, surrounded by wheat, rape, maize and wildflowers. And I'm staggered by the diversification of bugs and beetles and animals generally. And I've got a special little creature inside my bait box that I always carry in my pocket. And it eats ragwort, which is that yellow flower. And if I tip him out onto my hand, he's looking a little bit sheepish, but I'll move those away. And it's called a cinnabar. It's a little caterpillar which has started to move, and it's yellow and black. And he's the fella that eats the ragwort. And he turns into the beautiful cinnabar moth. Back in there, little fella. There you go. And I'll put your food in there too, so you're happy and you've got something to eat. There we go. You don't just have to be in the countryside to find fascinating wildlife. And in fact, just walking down this street, which is in the middle of London, we've got Hyde Park just over here, and then we've got the Palace just a little bit further on. So it's amazing to see what it is that you can find. And just walking down here now, I have found, and I'll pull it out for you now, an incredible caterpillar, which happens to be a hawk moth. And when I look about me, the place is covered in lime trees, which pretty much leads me to the conclusion that this is in fact a lime hawk moth caterpillar. And I'll try and bring it really close for you to get a good look at, and you can definitely tell that it's a hawk moth because it's got that strange little spine of a tail at the back. And it was green, and now it's turning this sort of camouflage brown colour because it's about to try and find a pupation site. And the way it does that is by walking over the leaves and trying to generally get down to the earth where it can burrow a little hole and hide itself from harm's way. Now, I'm surrounded by wonderful valleys, and these valleys are covered in a forest of oak trees. So it's not surprising that the hawk moth that we're going to come in contact with is the oak hawk moth, and it's a wonderful light brown. It's about that big, and it looks a little bit like a dead leaf. Anyway, I can promise you it is not a dead leaf, because when it gets drawn in by my mercury vapor lamp over there, it's going to end up hitting the dust sheet a little bit like a small bird, certainly a bat, and it is about the size of a bat. Anyway, it's not going to be the only moth that we catch. We're going to also see a lot of macro moths, and probably the micro moths, the little weeny fellas too. I've had a very successful night out here, and I'm covered in a few moths, but I wanted to take the opportunity to show you what these little guys look like. And I've got two here for you now. So the big one is an oak hawk moth, which is what I was specifically trying to find. And they really are very big. And the smaller one is called an oak egger. Wonderfully orange, with a couple of nice lines down its back and a couple of small dots. And that's the more typical size. And then of course we've got hundreds of much smaller moths, which are still very beautiful and very decorative, but very small, and there's millions of them. Still coming in now, buzzing around the lamp. But it's been a super night, because there is only a slither of moon visible, no stars at all. Absolutely pitch black, which is an ideal condition. It's not windy, so it's easy for the moths to fly. It's absolutely perfect. I'm watching these wonderful swallowtails feeding on the lavender. So we're trying to encourage this cuckoo that I can hear flying around to come to me And I'm going to try and impersonate its call. It's very near. And the cuckoo has a really unusual habit of laying its eggs in another bird's nest. And it looks for small birds. And then once it's found the right couple, it leaves an egg in their nest. And when that egg hatches, the small cuckoo chick pushes out the other eggs so that there's as much food as possible coming to the hungry cuckoo. And you usually see two very small parent birds, a reed warbler or something similar, working very hard to bring it food all the time, because it was obviously a bigger bird than the one that the parents were used to. So it needs more food. And as it grows, eventually it's one fat cuckoo completely overwhelming the nest, perched on top, with these two very small parents. The cuckoo chick makes a very strange noise that sounds like 2 or 3 chicks all going chip, 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 chip. And that encourages the parent birds to work even harder and get more maggots or more worms to feed the young bird. And I can see it flying right across there, landing in the top of the tree. Let me try again. Cuckoo, 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 cuckoo. And I can hear the small birds mobbing it to frighten it away so that it doesn't lay an egg in their nest. Cuckoo, 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 cuckoo. That was really exciting. The cuckoo came straight over the top of the hedge, and it didn't see me until the very last moment. And then it flew over there behind me and landed in a tree. And what they're trying to do is get all those rocks out so that they can dig down through the sand to the actual riverbed. And that's where the gold's going to be hiding. Something like that, which is half the size of an acorn, would be about 5 grams worth of gold. And that's worth about 250 quid. Now the most that has been found recently is something that size, which is about 1,500 grams worth of gold, and that's worth a serious chunk of cash. So I've only been away for 5 minutes, and they managed to put their picks underneath that bloody great rock and shift it, which is hopefully where the gold's been hiding. So now we're fully expecting that gold to come down into the pan. So we've had a little bit of success there, and my good friend has just very kindly offered to give me this little piece of gold as a memento. So I'd like to say mucho gracias, both of you. Thank you very much indeed.
Mucho gusto.
Okay. Mucho gusto. Thank you very much. What a trip to Costa Rica. This is one of the last chaps to head off into the jungle, and he's what's known as an Adamarius. There's lots of different varieties. In fact, they're incredibly difficult to identify, and we found a couple of new ones tonight. So we'll look at those wings batting like fury, and it's an incredible yellow colour too. And these are just enormous creatures. I've never seen anything like it. And he's away. And look at this incredible leaf-headed mantis. It's trying to catch me with its claws, but they're not going through my skin. But I have to say, he makes a mean meal of anybody that comes close enough to use those on.